Good Erev Shabbos, everyone. Welcome to the special segment known as For the Shabbos Table, sponsored by the Rubin family, and we wish them from Hashem that Hashem should be mamali all their desires for the good. They make it possible for people to hear all over the world these thoughts for the Shabbos Table. It's a little bit late today, I'm sorry, but we came back from the country last night, so this is as early as I was able to do it. It says, Tishma, if you listen to Hashem, so it's a double lashon, Shemaya Tishma, and the Shachal HaTorah, who was one of the Gurei Arizal, one of the cubs of the Arizal, for hundreds and hundreds of years ago, he writes as follows. V'hoya im ata tishma ga me'acherim. If you listen to others, v'hoya im shemaya, if you listen to others, so tishma, other people will listen to you. Your words will be heard. Now we all want people to listen to us. We want the Rabbeinu Shalom to listen to us. And the Shach says it's totally if we listen to people. And this is not as simple as it seems. It means that when our wife talks to us, we listen. When our husband talks to us, we listen. It means that we take the time to listen to the needs of our elderly parents. It means that we listen to our rabbi. It means that when we have a friend that has a problem, we take time. It says, Daiga b'leivish yashchena. And the Gemara says, Daiga b'leivish, if somebody has a worry in their heart, it's a big relief to yasichena la'acherim, to tell it to somebody else. Somebody has to listen. It's a big chesed to listen. I remember when my first shviger, Aleh Hashem, Dvar Basar Yaleib, Mrs. Gelbtuch, Zechat Tzadik Levrachas, Tzedekes Levrachas, Chusu Yagan Aleinu. I remember when Rabbi Singer from Bialystok was maspid her, he said about her that we lost one of the last listeners. She used to have time to listen to people, to let people complain, to cry. And it's a big thing. A person, if they train themselves to listen, a lot of times a spouse talks and you say no even before you hear them finish what they want. To listen to a spouse, it's a big thing. And the Shach says that im shemaya, if you listen, then your words would be listened to. I told you from Rav Steinman, recently I said this. Rav Steinman said that most people get angry when people don't listen to them. He said if a person should think, why aren't his words being listened to? The Gemara says, Kol mi sheyesh bo yirah shamayim, dvarav nishma. Whoever has yirah shamayim, his words are heard. If people aren't listening to you, it's probably because you're not enough of a yirah shamayim. So if you want to be angry at yourself. Rav Steinman said ironically, in the happy part of this week's parasha, it says, and all the brachas will come, v'hisigucha, and they will overtake you. So of course the redundancy is troubling. If the Torah says, that all the blessings will come to you, then why does it have to say v'yisigucha? They will overtake you. So the Orach Chaim HaKadosh says something that we know when we ask for something from Hashem. So we say in Shema Koleinu, Kikel Shemeh Tfilas Kol Pa'amcha Yisrael B'Rachamim. So Orach Chaim HaKadosh says when we ask for something, the Rebbeinu Shalom in mercy wants to grant it to us. And he says yes. But in order for the blessing to come down, they have to pass the gateway the customs of the Sanhedrin Shel Mala. And says the Orach Chaim HaKadosh, sometimes Sanhedrin says, no, he's not right. And they block the blessing from coming. So the blessing over here is that we will be granted the brachas v'sigucha, and they will reach you. It won't be stopped by the Sanhedrin Shel Mala, by the heavenly tribune. The Ksav Sefer Zech Tzadik L'Brachas Chusiyang L'Leinu says something else. He says, "Avo alecha kol habrachas ha'ela v'sigucha," means that, sometimes the Rebbeinu Shalom grants us money, but in order to get it, we have to go through hoops. In order to get it, we have to travel, we have to go on a business, and we get stuck in the airport, and then they tell us you'll get it in 4 months, and sometimes a person has to do all kinds of things and go to the person once and then beg him again and then call him again till they get something. The Ksav Sefer says the bracha is Uva Alecha Kol HaBracha Se'ela V'Hisigucha, and they will reach you. You're not going to have to run out of it. You're not going to have to go through Shiva Madura Gehenim in order to get it. It's interesting that the Kaf HaChaim says something else. The Kaf HaChaim says that if a person is supposed to get blessings, it will reach you even if you do what's opposite what you think should bring you the blessings. Even if we mess up. The Eitzes Pnina HaTorah brings down a remarkable story, and it's a big chizik. It's a big chizik for people who are bitter with other people who they feel block them from getting what is their due. And there's nothing like the animosity, the ill will you feel from someone who held you back from getting something. Let's say they held you back from getting a promotion or a good job or a proper pension or a higher salary. So listen to this story that the Eitzes Pnina HaTorah cites. It says there was a man who had a houseware store. He had a store that sells pots and commercial pots and dishes and silverware and all kinds of housewares. And it was a good business. And then one day, another houseware store that sold all his lines had to relocate from where they were, and they relocated on his block. And, people told him, you should take him to a din Torah. That's Mamish Hasagas Gvul. But this man was loath to get involved in din Torah, what could lead to machlokes and lashon hara. So he didn't do anything. He was fortified. He was a student of Chayvus Havavas. And the Chayvus Havavas says, Ein Adam ba'olam, there's no man in the world sheyochel lahazik loch, that could hurt you b'loi reshus bayrei, without the permission of Hashem. So he figured, if Hashem doesn't want him to hurt me, if I'm not due to that, it's not going to happen. And the Chayvus Havavas says, Ein Adam negea b'muchim lechavei, right? Nobody could touch that which you're supposed to get, even kamalei nima, even a hair's breadth. So, he felt he doesn't have to do anything. If this person if I'm supposed to get what I'm supposed to get from my housewares, from my customers, he can't touch me. Now, you might say, but isn't it proper hishtadlus to defend your turf? I mean, somebody, smashed your window, aren't you going to take him to court? So the truth of the matter is that there's a Gemara. The Gemara says, "Mi sheyesh lo tzakas leguma al chaveroi v'shaisek." Somebody has a claim that a person is interfering with leguma, with his livelihood, and he's quiet. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisadina, Hashem will take care of him. So he didn't do anything. So listen to what happened. One day a man comes in and makes a huge order. His most expensive pots and dishes and I mean, it was an order that was maybe 6-7 months parnasa. It turns out that this man was making a catering business and he needed a full line of stuff. So the man asked him, warmly, what brought you to my store? So he said, well, I heard there was a store somewhere. When I went there, it says moving sign, and they said they moved to this block. So I came. Now, he didn't realize that there was the other store. And it brought him into his store. So the fact that he had this competitor that had an advertisement actually brought this man that gave him more than a half a year's parnasa in one day. So the Rebbeinu Shalom takes care. And then we have to know, somebody interfered with what you thought was something that was coming to you. You have to know that the Chavis Abava says a person can't do that. He can't interfere. Right? He can't hurt you. First of all, he's not going to touch something that was yours. Ein adam nageh b'muchan l'chavera kamalei nima, not even a hair's breadth. And nobody could hurt you without Hashem's rishus. Now, if it's Hashem's rishus, and then it's a kapara, it saves you something else. So therefore, you don't have to be upset at anybody. Baruch atah b'vayecha, Baruch atah b'tzisecha. Blessed are you when you come, blessed are you when you leave. And Rashi says, just like a person comes into the world without sin, so he leaves the world without sin. That would be the bracha, to leave like you come. So there's a famous Rishash in Bav Metzia Daf Kuv Zayin Amud Beis that says, Mikan Yesh, of course the Rishash is very, very short. His words are very measured. He says, Mekan yesh ksas stira lebale das Gilgal. From here, there's a little bit of a contradiction to those that believe in reincarnation. And what he means is that Rashi says that a person comes into the world without sin, while if he's a Gilgal, he comes in with previous sins. So, Rav Chaim says succinctly that probably the Rishash didn't write this. Chaim, who said, the world needs now to understand Gilgal. When Leiby Kletsky was mutilated horribly and butchered this young, pure child, Sir Chaim made a short statement which went viral, so to speak, that you cannot understand this without Gilgal. The belief in Gilgal is the way we deal today with the question of tzaddik v'raloi. Why do bad things happen to very good people? I know that when my Rebbetzin was very ill, and she was an Isha, there was a big tzedekes, and she was suffering very much pain, she got chizik when I told her that it could very well be from a Gilgal. And our generation needs Gilgal very much to be able to cope with these philosophical questions. I wanted to mention, I've spoken about Gilgal in the past. I wanted to mention two interesting things. The Rav Steinman said over from Rav Bloch, who said it from his father, that his father once spotted a chazer, a pig, that was humming a tune of Lichadaidi. Can you imagine that? Imagine going into the garbage dump and you see a swine with his snout humming a tune of Lichadaidi. And he realized that this was a tune of a certain chazan, a cantor, who was a well-known balavero who died. And it was clear that he came back as a tikkun, as a chazan. He was singing his L'chadaidi in the mud patch. This is a testimony from recently. The Chavetz Chaim talked about the great tragedy of the Cantonistim. Those that don't know what the Cantonistim, that was a terrible thing, that the Russians took a child of 8, 9, and drafted them into the army for 25 years. And a lot of times they took an orphan, and they took even children of Gedolei Yisrael, and many of them were drafted, never heard of again, lost their Yiddishkeit because they grew up as a Tinnik Shenishba. And the Chavetz Chaim said, because at first glance, why would Rabbeinu Shalom do this to pure Yiddish Kinderlich? Chavetz Chaim said an amazing thing. Chavetz Chaim said that these children were Gilgul of the thousands of people in the time of Gideon that worshipped the Avodah Zarah of Baal. And they were given a chance with these Cantonistim to be Mesaken the Chet. Amazing thing. Chaim Vital tells us in the Sefer Chazyonis that the Arizal was aware of his previous Gilgals. He spoke about it. He says that he was a Gilgal of a Talmid Chacham, wealthy man, Rabbi Yeshua Soriano, who he was a Gilgal of a Moyel Reb Shol Trishti. And one time when he was learning the Milah, and he wasn't yet proficient enough, he caused the child to die. And the Ari said about himself that he was never able to look at a Milah or a Shrita, and he made sure never to kill any Birya as a takana. So the Gilgal is a very real thing in our Torah system. I want to talk about something which, believe it or not, it's hard to believe it, is already 21 years old. You know, when I was a boy, growing up as a teenager, the thing that everybody talked about, do you remember where you were at the time, was the assassination of President Kennedy. More recently, that which, so to speak, caused the world to stop in its track, to hold its breath, and everybody says, where were you at the time, is 9/11. Believe it or not, 9/11 is 22 years ago. It's in 2001, 9/11, 2001. And 2,996 people died on that day. We know that lekamide deloy remiza baraisa. There's nothing that's not hinted in the Torah. At the time, 9/11 happened in Parshas Kisava, this week's Parsha. And at the time, I spoke about how it was so jarring, how it was alluded to in the Teichacha. I want to review that for our Olam now for the Shabbos table. I think it's a strong feature of Emunah to take out a Chumash and speak about it at the Shabbos table. It says, Yisa Hashem alecha goy mirachak. Hashem will bring a nation from a distance. Here we are in America, in New York, and planes came from a far distance. How will the danger come? Miktzei ha'aretz, from another end of the earth, kasher yideh hanesha, like the eagle swoops. They came down, swooping on the towers like eagles. Now the word yideh, Rashi says, means pisang, suddenly, because they came suddenly. Out of nowhere. What? Whoa, look what's happening. Ow! The term Yideh is a very rare word. The normal word is Kashayov Hanesher. So I happen to have an eye for it, and I noticed Yideh, Yud Dalet Aleph Hey, is 9/11. Yud Aleph is 11, and Dalet Hey is 9. It's 9/11. It's there in the words. It's unbelievable. Now, the pasuk continues, Goya asher lo yisishma l'shaynai. A nation that you won't understand its language. Now, what does that mean? I mean, it's Arabic. There are millions of people that understand Arabic. But if you know, in the forensic study of why the CIA and Interpol did not find out about the cells that did this major operation, it's because they didn't have enough people working in the code department, in cryptography, who spoke Arabic. So it's really a Goya Shaloi Sishma L'Shainai. It's really Goya Azponim, a nation that was very chutzpahdik, Asher lo yisa ponim lazaken, that shows no respect to the elderly. That's the trait of Yishmael. There's a per adam, no respect to the elderly, even now lo yachain, and shows no favor to children. I mean, they put their missile shooters right next to schools, and they blow up women and babies. They will attack you by all your gateways. Now, what are gateways? In today's terminology, gateways are bridges and tunnels. If you remember at the time, it was an amazing thing. After 9/11, they shut down all bridges and tunnels. You couldn't fly anywhere. All airways were shut down. All gateways were shut down. And then here's what leaves no doubt. Ad redes chomosecha agvois v'abetzuros, until there comes tumbling down your towers that are fortified. Asher ato beiteach b'hen b'chol aretzecha, that you put your trust in all your land. So there you have it. It's right there in the parsha. It's an amazing thing. In Rabbi Krohn's Sefer on Yom Noraim, I remember him talking about a reaction to 9/11. I think he quotes it from a Mora in the yeshiva. And the children were very frightened with what happened. And she said, read the words that you say after Aleinu. Now, many people finish, they close the siddur and finish, but there's a few words after that. It says, Al tira mipachad pisay. Don't be frightened from a terror that comes suddenly. That's what 9/11 was, a terror. Two planes coming, swooping down. A plane was going towards the Pentagon. I mean, it's really, Al tira mipachad pisay. Umishayas risham ki Savo, a holocaust of the wicked when it comes. Don't be afraid. Because Utza Eitza, they make plots of a sufar, but Hashem will annul them. Dabru Daba, they make all kinds of plans, v'lo yokram, ki imanu kel, Hashem is with us. And we know how many Yidden were saved. Yidden were saved because there were slichas that morning, and therefore their schedules were different. Yidden was saved. There was a Yid saved. He was in the train station and he wanted to go over the daf. It was a hard daf, and he said, if I go to work, then I won't see the daf again, and it won't be another 7.5 years. So he didn't go up until the planes hit. There was a girl in Staten Island that I knew that worked for Cantor Fitzgerald. Cantor Fitzgerald was above the plane. Nobody survived in Cantor Fitzgerald. They let her go a few months before in an anti-Semitic action. And it was Tisha B'Av by her. But because she was let go, she wasn't up there that day, which she would have definitely been, and her life was saved. Now she's married, Baruch Hashem, then she was unmarried. So Utza Eitza, they make plots with Sufa, Hashem annuls them. So don't be afraid. Hashem has our back. Again, I want to thank the Rubin family for making this year possible. We also are looking for a sponsor for the main Chumash year next week, 718-916-3100, rmmwsi@aol.com. Take a look at my new YouTube channel, where I have a share there, last-minute strategies for Rosh Hashanah. I have a share there preparing for Rosh Hashanah, and a 4-part share on how to make a cheshbon hanefesh. We want to thank you for joining us and wish you a good Shabbos.